Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. We're starting something new this week, and it starts with an explanation. The reason I started YouTube was that I saw an opportunity to talk about real issues as it related to games, TV shows, and movies, while also getting to share my enjoyment of those things with all of you. And I do definitely want to get more original content, but right now, if I wanted to do that, I'm just too exhausted all the time for my living situation to like write a script and talk about issues that are important to me in like full length videos every week. So I decided what I'm going to do instead is I'll watch what other people on YouTube have to say about issues like mental health, therapy, socioeconomic, and political issues. And along the way, I'll pause and share my thoughts with you whenever I have something to say about what's going on. And so, yeah, there are definitely some videos that I want to do. There's a channel called Cinema Therapy that my friend Nakia from Germany introduced me to. She sent me a video of them breaking down Kristoff in Frozen 2, and I thought they did a really good job talking about them. And I'll probably go back to the video again later at some point, but I definitely want to watch all their other videos about other movies. And the only reason I'm not starting with those videos is because I'm a little afraid they'll copyright strike me. And I found a public email address for them, so I'm going to shoot them a message and inquire about it. But yeah, today we're going to start with a Psych to Go video. I haven't seen any of their videos before, but based on their thumbnails, it looks like it's animated. That's always fun. And it looks like they touch on many mental health issues, so looking forward to checking that out with you guys. The first one I'll be looking at is 10 Things Depression Makes Us Do. And I personally had depression for at least 15 years, at least from the ages of 12 to 27. Could have started earlier, but definitely ended at 27 after a couple of years of therapy. And yeah, I'll get to see how many of these things I've experienced before out of 10. Even though it's a serious topic, I'll play a guessing game and say I've experienced 8 out of the 10. Are you guys taking the over or the under? You're for yourselves. Anyway, I'll link the original video in the description, but without further ado, leave a like on this video and let's get started.
Depression affects many of us around the globe. According to the World Health Organization, 300 million people of all ages battle with it.
Oh,
Depression
300
is a
million.
sneaky mental disorder. It's
Out
difficult
of
to catch during the
8-ish
early
billion?
stages, and most of us realize we have depression when we're deep in the grips of
4 or
it.
5%.
Those with this mental disorder feel hopeless, empty or sad, fatigued, irritable, and restless. Depression not only takes your motivation away, but you can have problems concentrating and making
Deflating.
decisions. Those of us with this disorder can act in ways that will worsen the situation. Here's a
Self-harm?
list of 10 things depression makes you do.
Number 1.
Isolating yourself. Individuals with depression isolate themselves for different reasons. Some will keep to themselves because they feel overwhelmed socializing, and others believe it's better to be alone. In other cases, the person may feel so much self-hatred that they prefer to not interact with people. Those with severe depression may even stay in their house for weeks. 2.
So the first one, isolation, yeah, definitely feel that. I've had depression for, I mentioned, 15 years at least. Actually, it probably started earlier than the age of 12. I just know that for sure it started. For sure I had it at 12. But despite having it for most of my life, I think there were definitely very serious episodes of depression. And the first one was when I was in college, and I went through a pretty bad breakup, and I missed school for an entire month. Uh, Isolated myself, didn't come out of my dorm room or I came out of my dorm room like once a day to get food outside and then just go back. It was really, really bad. Missed a month of school. Yeah, kept to myself, didn't talk to anybody, and yeah, it was really bad. Anyway, continuing on.
Being
Number 2,
disorganized. Depression leaves you
disorganized.
feeling exhausted, so cleaning your room or home becomes an endeavor. Dirty dishes and clothes start piling up while your garbage is overflowing the trash. It becomes an even bigger physical challenge to walk around your room because everything is on the floor. Living in a cluttered place leaves you feeling uneasy, but the lack of energy doesn't help.
Disorganization, I don't think that's necessarily got worse under depression. I'm not necessarily that disorganized. I like things looking somewhat neat. The stuff you see in this background here is all my parents' stuff, so I can't organize it. But most of the time, I'm pretty organized. I know where everything is. Um, it might look messy sometimes, but I know, like, I can find things pretty easily. Uh, But so I guess that's one of two. I don't feel like I become more disorganized. But yeah.
3. Poor hygiene.
Oh, that's a big
Depression
one.
zaps all your
Yeah.
energy. It's difficult enough to get out of bed, so showering, brushing your teeth, washing your hair, and taking care of your body goes out the window. Those without depression may see this behavior as lazy, but the truth is, showering or changing into
Too
clean
much
clothes
energy.
is exhausting and painful at times.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, depression 15 plus years. Never had, didn't have, don't have problems with my hygiene now or for most of those years. But during that specific 1 month where I missed a month of school, I think I showered a total of 4 times. So, yeah, not great. If you start neglecting hygiene, your personal health, that's definitely an issue. And don't be like me and isolate. I mean, I understand the impulse to want to isolate and the self hatred that might come with um, whatever you're feeling, but yeah, definitely reach out. All right, number 4.
4. Struggling with sleep.
Oh, yeah,
Depression affects your
big time.
sleeping schedule. Some of you may stay up
Huh,
and sleep very little. It keeps you up with your intrusive, unwanted thoughts. These may end up making you feel anxious all through the night. In other cases,
for
some of you
sure.
will sleep excessively and still feel unrested.
So, yeah, nowadays I fall asleep relatively easy unless I like took a nap earlier in the day, but I used to just stay up all night with thoughts like jumping around in my head and unable to. Yeah, just it was really bad. I don't know. I didn't even think about that recently, but I actually never thought about this after I finished therapy. Um, but yeah, I don't have trouble falling asleep anymore. I don't up at night thinking for hours and hours on end anymore, which is a nice change. Unfortunately, I'm also still exhausted a lot of the time because of my living situation, but that's another story entirely. Number 5.
5. Catastrophizing every situation.
Ugh.
Depression plays tricks on your
Ugh.
mind, making you
Yeah.
believe negative things. It can get to a point where you're constantly looking out for bad things to reassure your pessimistic thinking. Every time something bad happens, you use it as evidence to prove how bad life is. This slippery slope makes it difficult to see life under a brighter light.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever. Yeah, I don't. So far it's been 3 out of the 4. Make that 4 out of the 5. So yeah, that is definitely a rough one. Um,
Bad happens, you use it as evidence to prove
Man,
how bad life is.
yeah,
This
you just
slippery
kind of
slope
spiral.
makes it difficult to see life under a brighter light.
I don't have any specific examples, but you just can't really get yourself out. And eventually, I needed to reach out to my friends and talk to them to really start to get out of it, or not even start to get out of it. Start to not be all consumed by it.
6. Terrible eating habits.
Oh
Those with
yeah, for
depression will
sure.
either eat too much or hardly anything at all.
I'm the
Some of
second
you may
one.
find yourself in the kitchen eating everything in sight, trying to eat away the emptiness or sadness you're feeling, while others don't have an appetite and may even feel disgusted by food. In other cases, some of you may feel so exhausted that the thought of preparing a meal is overwhelming.
Yeah. I'm mostly going to talk about that 1 month because that was when everything was the most intense. Nor I guess even during like with mild depression, I didn't have problems eating too little or too much. But during that 1 month, I ate one meal a day, maybe less, and I was severely dehydrated as well. Just not the best time to be on my own for the first time in a dorm room. And I didn't really get yeah I didn't really get to enjoy it, my freedom and having my own space, because that was the first time I ever had my own room, and since then I've never had my own room either. So kind of sad that my one chance to be on my own was ruined by my depression, and I actually lost my dorm room because of just unforeseen circumstances. So I didn't get to enjoy it. Yeah, after that first semester, I lost my dorm room, so I didn't even get to enjoy it after I moved a little further away from the depression.
7. Lack of motivation.
Oh yeah, so yeah, I wasn't eating at all. Basically, I lost 20 pounds actually. But it was like a bad losing 20 pounds. Like my, I don't, I don't think I lost any fat. I was just like muscle mass just completely drained away. Um, and yeah, it was bad all around. What was this last one? What was
Or
number
you might
seven?
even feel disgusted by food. In other cases, some of you may feel so exhausted that the thought of preparing a
What was number
meal
seven?
is
Yep.
overwhelming. 7. Lack of motivation.
Lack of
Depression
motivation.
steals your interests and
It's a
desires
switch.
right from under you. Your favorite pastimes and hobbies no longer satisfy you. Slowly, you find yourself feeling dead and numb inside. If you aren't careful, you'll end up staying in bed all day.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I did. I had a laptop back then, so I would just binge the same season of a TV show over and over and over and over again. It was Castle, and only the first season had come out when uh, I was first hit by this wave of depression. Um, and so I watched the first. I think it was like it was a short season because they like greenlit it halfway through like the fall TV show season. So it was like 10 episodes, and I just watched it a bunch of times. I know I've seen the first season at least 100 times, and I could just recite the entire show at one point. But yeah, it was really bad. Yeah,
8. Evading your problems. Depression by
mm.
itself is overwhelming. You can feel devastated and out of control most days, so trying to face situations and problems head on is difficult enough. Instead, you ignore or set the problem aside, and this in turn can bring trouble because it will continue to pile up.
Yeah, I had basically my biggest problems in the first year. I mean, college is a joke, was a joke to me because I went to Hunter High, and after Hunter High, college is just too easy. Um, so my depression hit like in the middle of my first semester, and I was like acing all my classes before then. But after the 1 month, I missed like several midterms. I missed a bunch of labs, uh, physics labs, and yeah, I had to retake all of them without having the notes from the class, and I didn't speak to anybody, so I didn't know who to ask for anything. Uh, so yeah, I wound up not studying for a midterm and just like guessing, and wound up getting like a B on a midterm or on a not a midterm on an exam. Uh, they wound up grading like all of the tests together after a while, and I was able to average up back to an A minus in like I think it was like intro to psychology for the honors class. And I did get A's in other classes, but college is a joke. So, but yeah, I was definitely ignoring my problems and not studying or trying to reach out. And yeah, it was bad.
9.
So how many of this so far? I think we have all of them except for disorganized. So 7 for 8 right now.
Feeling guilty and feeling
Feeling
self
guilty.
hatred. If you
Oh
allow
yeah,
depression
for
to take
sure.
over your thoughts, then you'll most likely feel self hatred. You'll continue to talk down to yourself, and this often leads to the development of self esteem issues along with poor self image. Eventually, you'll believe you
It's
aren't worth it
Kirby. It's
anymore.
sad Kirby.
Some people with this mental
No.
disorder can even feel guilt by thinking all their problems are their fault.
Yeah, I was convinced that I was a bad person for a very long time because of that. I haven't. What I really kind of want to do is talk about my own personal experience with depression and why, uh, and the reasons for my depression. But that is a very long video that I do not have the energy for right now. But eventually we'll get to it. Seems like we're 8 out of 9 so far. So yeah, these are pretty accurate, and I definitely know other people who have suffered the second one, which is being disorganized in depression. And number 10,
And 10. Living in fear. People with depression fear
living
that
in
terrible
fear.
things will happen to them. In severe cases, some of you will sabotage a good situation, believing that it will turn bad. Other times, individuals will reject opportunities and stop pursuing their dreams. It's a twisted way to protect yourself, because this prevents you from living and achieving amazing things.
No.
Depression affects us in different ways.
I think for me, I don't think that's ever been a problem, the fear one. Because of the way I grew up, my dad was just afraid of everything. He has told me this particular thing like dozens of times, which is that if you see like an old person fall on the street, don't help them because if you do and they fall again, they're going to sue you. And basically, don't help anybody ever, which is just the absolute most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. And he started telling me this when I was like 3 or 4, and I was so disgusted by it that and for other reasons that I just never listened to him about anything ever again. Um, Sometimes one or two things would slip through and I would listen to him, but I've always regretted that, and I've never regretted not listening to him. So yeah, I've never operated from the stance of fear, I don't think. Obviously, I've been afraid of things before, but it's never stopped me from doing things before. For instance, in romantic relationships, I might be afraid to have conversation, or if I see somebody being bullied on the street, I'll jump in. I'm obviously very afraid if it's. I jumped into a group of like 6 people who were threatening this middle-aged lady once, and my heart was beating the frick out of my chest, but I still jumped in because I, growing up with a father who was so intent on drilling this fear into me, um, made me do risky and sometimes stupid things. Uh, yeah, like for instance, I was 8 or 9, and my friend's family wanted to go swimming, so they took me. And there was a diving board in one of the pools that was specifically meant for diving. And yeah, not knowing how to swim, I still went and did it anyway. Nearly drowned. So risky, stupid things. I've limited the risk a little bit more recently. I'm not gonna jump into a pool if I don't know how to swim, as for instance, but or I'm not gonna dive into the deep end of a pool without knowing how to swim. But uh, yeah, never operated from a place of fear. I'm glad about that. So yeah, 8 out of 10 actually, exactly on the dot. Pretty lucky guess. Let's look at the rest of this.
The list mentioned in this video contains some of the common behaviors those with the disorder have. Do you agree with these points? What
Yeah.
other behaviors have you noticed? Let us know in the comment section below.
Interesting. So I think this video is mostly about identifying different ways depression can manifest. It doesn't necessarily tell you how to get over anything. And I think one thing I think that gets overlooked a lot in society is that prevention is always cheaper than trying to solve a problem that has already evolved into something bigger. For instance, with climate change, like we might have to spend trillions to actually develop technology and initiatives to combat it, and the corporations that add to it. But in the long run, it'll save us trillions and trillions more because the devastation is going to cost so much more to clean up, not to mention the cost of the loss and displacement of human lives. And with healthcare, you want to eat, like people are encouraged to eat healthy and exercise because otherwise the costs are so much higher if you have to deal with like perfectly preventable diseases, especially in the US, where healthcare costs are ridiculous. But it also contributes to your mental health and well-being. And for all of that, it's the same with mental health. I would highly suggest going to a therapist, even if you aren't depressed, even if you're just experiencing one of these 10 things, or if anything just feels a little bit off. Like just going to a therapist, a good therapist who is a good fit for you, helps you develop new, healthier ways of thinking. And yeah, just work through how your parents raised you or how you wish they raised you. Um, It'll lead to a more fulfilling life. And rather than going down the typical path that many people go through, where they become deeply depressed and have it affect all other areas of their lives before they do something about it, I would recommend that even if you don't feel like you need it, if you have the ability to, I would highly recommend going to therapy. It can get a little expensive. I went for 2 years and I had financial help, or rather, my therapist gave me a discount because I was underemployed at the time. Um, but yeah, wound up spending $2,000 over the course of a couple of years, 2 years. So it can get expensive, but there are a lot of low cost options online. And there are a lot of videos online. There are a lot of resources online. I'm sure there are a lot of YouTube videos that I hope I can find going forward. Let me know if you guys know any channels that are particularly good at not just identifying the problems, but helping you develop more healthy ways of thinking. And I mean, obviously, therapy is limited if you have an actual like chemical imbalance that can only be treated by medicine. That's a little different, but even then, learning skills and learning healthy thinking can help a lot. So I highly encourage therapy for everybody. I think everybody should go. Just don't listen to immigrant parents who tell you that therapy is for crazy people, because otherwise I would have never gone. Anyway, let me know if there are any mental health issues you'd like me to watch something about and talk about. And I will try to get to those things. Obviously, I can't answer everybody in the comments and like walk you through everything myself. Would love to do that, but I do not have enough time or energy in the day. But yeah, thanks for watching. Leave a like, really helps in the channel, and I will see you guys next week with more. We are one week ahead over on Patreon. Don't know what I'm doing next just yet, though. All right, bye, friends.